This reading will be for the sign of Leo for the month of September 2026. The deck that I'm using is the Rider-Waite deck by Pamela Coleman-Smith and Arthur Waite. And what I've done is I've pulled 3 cards for each consecutive week within the month and an overall energy card which will affect each consecutive week. So let's get reading. Put your feet up, grab a coffee, a tea, the cat, the dog, whatever makes you relaxed, and let's have a good listen. So your energy card is the strength card, and that is straight up. And that talks about having to use your common sense within the month of September. It also talks about the fact that you're starting to use your wisdom and self-control over your emotional aspects in your life. Now, it does say that you have a concern about your body and your physical appearance. It talks about energy, and it talks about courage, and it talks about determination, right? So strength of character. And you have the strength of character that you need to face what it is that you need to face within the month of September. So you're going to get through your difficulties. You're going to gain success. It does talk about physical success, recovery from illness, vitalism, body movement, yoga, nature, maybe even allowing someone else to lead you for a while, someone that is going to encourage your good habits and help you break those bad habits. Now, it does talk about you replacing bad habits with good ones. So if you were a junk food addict, you are now going to be focused on your diet and your health. And it does talk about paying attention to exercise and diet, exploring different wisdom, maybe getting involved in Tai Chi, maybe getting involved in yoga, in nature aspects, okay? Now, just talk about traditional things in your life, traditions that have been passed down through the generations. So maybe you're going to get into gardening or homesteading, that type of thing. It also talks about you exercising self-preservation and self-choice within the month of September. So, you know, that strength card basically tells you that when the time comes that you have to make a decision in any aspect in your life, okay, you will have the strength and the courage to move forward in it. Okay, so as we move into the first week, you have the Eight of Cups. And the Eight of Cups talks about you knowing how to deal with people issues. And it also talks about you being involved in a dynamic with a water sign individual, Pisces, Cancer, or Scorpio. And there might be some relationship issues that you're dealing with. Now, you're having to focus on knowing what or who or where to connect in your life. And you're feeling in control of your life. You're starting to move forward in a more positive way, in a stronger way. And you have the strength that you need with that strength card in order to change the dynamic in your life. Now, it talks about shared custody situations. So that could be with a pet, that could be with children. It also talks about possibly a second marriage. Maybe you're getting involved in a second marriage. It could be one partner or the other. And it does say that there is going to be a semblance of combined families. Now, when that comes up, it doesn't necessarily have to be a marriage. It could be a family dynamic. I mean, maybe you're establishing a partnership with friends or family members, okay? And you're going to be cohesive with a shared type of commitment to a relationship dynamic in your life. And as I said, it could be relationship, it could be romantic partnership, it could be a business partnership. Now, it also says that there may be an adult child that is returning home to live. So maybe you have a child that's moving in with you. Maybe you have a water sign individual, a child of yours, who's a water sign, a Pisces, Cancer, or Scorpio. Maybe they're moving home because maybe they've, decided to change their career. Maybe they lost their job, or there's been some change in their life. And so you are accommodating their need for residence in your life. Now, you're handling all of this very, very responsibly and very maturely, which is a positive thing for my Leos. So as you're moving into the middle couple of days of that first week, okay, you have the Seven of Cups, and it's straight up, and that talks about you having a very rich imagination, and you're visualizing what it is that you want to bring about in your life, and you're formulating a plan to get it step by step, and you are ticking it off that list. So it does talk about you focusing on your personal desires. However, you are scattering your energies by, you're doing a little bit too much. And it talks about you needing to focus what is manageable, but what's realistic, okay? So you're going through this process of change in your life. And what was important to you Before, you know what? Now, Leo, it doesn't even matter to you anymore. If you were focused on money and riches and having the best car and the best home and the most beautiful partner or a handsome partner, okay? None of that means anything to you. You're looking for real things in your life, things with sustenance, okay? Now, it also says that you need to gain clarity before you make a major decision in your life. Before you sign on the dotted line to buy a home or buy a car or change locations or start a new job, okay? Gain some clarity. Go and find out what it is that you're getting involved in. Make sure that you do the proper research and make sure you know exactly what it is that you're vying for and what it entails, okay? Now, the mask is going to fall and you're going to see the truth behind an illusion. I mean, maybe you were told that, oh, this is the greatest job in the world and we're going to give you a promotion and you're going to move up that corporate ladder. And you're finding out, you know what, somebody was lying to you. They were feeding you a line of bull, okay? So you're pulling away from those energies. You're moving away from them. So maybe you were offered something at work. Maybe you were offered a promotion or a way up that ladder, that corporate ladder, and you found out they lied to you. And so you're thinking, you know what? It's time for me to make a move. It's time for me to make a change in my life. And so, Leo, you might be moving in an opposite direction from where you are. So we're moving into the last 2 days of that first week, and you have the Three of Wands reversed. Okie dokie, this is where the problems are going to start here. So let's say, Leo, you got a new job. Or maybe this is still at the point where you're at the old job and you were offered a new position, okay? But you might be having a few problems with maybe an individual who really didn't know the business, right? And so they were promising you things that they couldn't accommodate. All right. But this could also be you, that maybe you decided to step into a leadership role at your old job. And maybe you're kind of thinking, I don't think I have the experience for this. Okay. Now you have this desire to communicate, to say your needs, to say what it is that you want to get into or you want to get involved in. And maybe you want to get involved in a work program. Okay. And maybe you want some training in that. But you're not saying it. You're not standing up to the plate and saying, this is what I want. And perhaps you need a few more opportunities. It seems like you're hiding behind that door and you're hiding from the opportunities that are being offered to you in this whole first week. The whole first week, it seems like you're trying to hang on to something that you know inherently is not good for you. So, you know, the old saying, and I keep telling all the signs this, if you do what you did, you're going to get what you got, right? So if you're not satisfied with your job, but you hang on to it because it's the only security you know, you're going to literally let go of all those golden opportunities out there, and they're going to pass you by, and you're going to be stuck in the same mode, okay? Now, it does say that you need some confidence building. And you know, you're even a little hesitant on telling someone that you don't have what it takes for that promotion, okay? Now, it does say that you need more direction or information, and you also need to learn from other people's experiences, okay? There's a big thing that's coming up here in that first week. You're going to find out possibly about a love triangle. And it doesn't necessarily have to be you. It could be your partner. It could be someone you know, someone you care about, who's involved in a relationship, and they're finding out that that dynamic, someone was cheating in there. Now, it does talk about problems with a group of friends, arguments, passivity, you know, like you're very passive and you put up with shit that you shouldn't put up with. And what it's saying is you need to stand up, stand your ground and say, I'm not putting up with that. I'm worth more than that, okay? So in that whole first week, you're having to pull away from relationships, employment opportunities, promotions at work, things like that, that don't vie with you, that you don't want. Like I said, Leo, you're hiding behind the door. You're hiding behind the door and the opportunities are passing you by. But the opportunities are not same old, same old. They're new opportunities. And they're going to move you in a new direction. So be aware of that. Second week, you got Three of Swords and it's straight up. Wow, Three of Swords. Three of Swords, okay. So it talks about conflict, okay? And it talks about reacting to conflict. So being angry about something, So, you know, that first week you were dealing with work and the crap stories they were feeding you and, you know, trying to suck butt with you and, you know, get you into a role that you weren't even adapted to. You didn't even want it, okay? And what it's saying in the first couple of days of that second week is that, you know, you're reacting to that conflict. You might be striking out, you might be shouting and, you know, saying things that, you know, fighting with your coworkers, okay? And it does say that you're going to receive a communication in the first couple of days of that second week that is going to bring about some type of disturbing message. Now, that could be bad news. It could be a rumor about something, but it does say that you're going to have to express your sorrow. And it talks about poetry and it talks about writing or music, okay, where you're sitting back and you're listening to the music. And I mean, maybe you're finding out that someone has passed or someone's ill or someone's got a chronic illness, okay? And so you're dealing with that emotionally, and maybe you're writing some poetry or maybe you're writing a song to help you deal with those emotions. Now, it also talks about injuries to your emotions or your ego. Maybe somebody has said something to you that kind of, you know, made you feel down on yourself, okay? That you'll never amount to nothing or to anything, or, you know, if you hadn't done this, you wouldn't be stuck in the situation you're in, okay? So someone's kind of kicking you in the teeth when you're down. It's not a good thing. Now, it also talks about someone who's dealing with heart problems. It could talk about surgery. It does talk about it being someone else's stress. So be sympathetic, okay, to other people when they're dealing with this type of dynamic in their life. Make sure you're not being cold to them, that you're not basically kind of like closing the door on them. Be their listening ear if that's what they need. Now, it also talks about you rehashing old memories and pain, emotional pain in your life, okay? So it does say that someone you care about may be going through a period of depression. It also talks about relationship incompatibilities, arguments, abusive behaviors, jealousy, unfaithfulness, separation. It does talk about a love triangle. Someone cheated on someone. Now, it doesn't say it's you, but it could be someone that you care about. It could be a friend, a family member, a mentor, a business partner, okay? But they were dealing with some type of love triangle that they found out about, and it's kind of kicking them in the teeth. It's making them feel horrible, emotionally horrible, and it's affecting their health in some way. And so they're going through a period of depression. Now, this could also be you. Maybe you're finding out the truth about something. It does talk about a child dynamic. So maybe you're finding out about a child, and maybe you assumed that there was close connection to that child, and now you're finding out there might not be. Okay, so those type of energies. Now, it does say that possibly your partner is not very ethical, or maybe they're not even acting mature. Maybe they're basically kind of, you know, saying to you, it could be a partnership, a romantic partner, it could be a marriage, and they're saying to you, well, I mean, if you're the male partner, it could be your female partner saying, well, you're not the father anyway. And if you're the female partner, maybe you're saying to your male partner, well, you're not the father anyway. So, you know, either way, you're going to be hurt one way or the other, okay? So if this is a dynamic you're going through, then my heart bleeds for you. I feel so sorry for anyone that gets that news when they think that they have a connection to someone and then they find out that connection is broken. I totally understand that. However, Leo, remember, okay, it's not about who is your DNA, okay? It's not about who your DNA is. It's who you are as a person, okay? And whoever your parental figures may be, whether you're talking about a child of yours or whether, you know, you're a child of someone and maybe you're finding out that the person that you assumed was a parental figure was not a parental figure. It doesn't matter. It's of no never mind. Who the person you are now is what's important. Who are you? Okay? What is your persona? Okay? You are you. Doesn't matter what your last name is. Doesn't matter what your bloodline is, okay? You are you, and you need to focus on that. You need to be strong. And like I said, you had that strength card all through the month of September, where you're going to be dealing with things that you find out, things that you can't find out about new jobs. You're going to be dealing with things that are going to require strength and courage, okay? And you know what? You got it. You got it, Leo. You got it. All right. So we are now in the middle 2 days of that second week. And you have the Chariot card, and it's straight up, okay? Now, first of the week, you were dealing with maybe, an untruth coming to light, okay? But you have to focus on whether that untruth is really important. Is it really, really that important to upturn your whole life over a decision, right? It doesn't matter who you love as long as you love them, right? Right. Okay, so the next card is the Chariot. And that talks about needing to control a situation and thinking very clearly, okay? Forming strategies. You're going to need a lot of control. And you know what, Leo? You got it. You got it. You're in control of your life and you're moving forward. Now, resist temptation, okay, and people problems. Don't get involved in things that are no consequence, okay? If someone says something nasty to you and, kind of questions who you think you are, right? Don't get involved in that. Let them have their little childish games and you walk the other way. Now, it does talk about you having to step in and take charge when other people don't want to be bothered with a scenario, okay? Now, you're focused. You're very focused in September. Maybe studies, maybe your work, maybe your life path, your relationships, okay? And if you're questioning, am I going to travel? Am I going to relocate? Am I going to be able to do this, make this move? Yes, you are. You will be physically relocating. And things are going to move very fast. But you're going to have to deal with matters with institutions or even people. You're going to receive honors and rewards, celebrations, success. You're going to go on a trip. You might even get a new car. So that's not a bad thing, right? So the first couple of days of that second week was a little bit rough when you find out the truth. And then you move into the middle of the month or the middle of the week. And it's like, yeah, everything's going good. Everything's going your way. Okay, so the next card you have is the Five of Cups, and it's reversed. And that's in the last 2 days of the second week. So once again, here we go. Impulsive words and actions. You're keeping them under control because you have that strength card. You have the gumption to stand up for yourself without the shouting and the placating. And you're mature. You're feeling mature. You're feeling in control, okay? You have that strength to move forward. And you know what? You might have pursued some new relationship or a new endeavor, a new pleasure. Get involved in something that you thought you'd like, and you might be a little bit disappointed. So I guess you might have to close the door on that one activity. But it does talk about you feeling a sense of emotional hardship. And I've seen this with a lot of the signs that the month of September is going to be very emotional for everybody. And the reason why is because things need to end. And before things end, there is going to be tears. There is going to be tears. So you're going to say goodbye to some job scenarios, some relationships, some dynamics in your life that, the good Lord has said it's time for it to leave. And so it's happened. But it does say that you're able to make sense of change and crisis in your life. And it also talks about return of an old friend. Yeah. And, even wanting to return to a more secure situation. There was a dynamic in your life where you just felt shaky. You didn't feel like you belonged. You didn't feel secure and serene in that environment. Okay. Well, stay strong because you are going to be able to move into a more secure and more serenity-filled environment. Now, there is someone in your life that is returning, and they are going to try to rebuild a break in trust or security, okay? And they're trying to end a dynamic in their life that was victimization. It was something that they learned from all the trauma they had been through. Now, Leo, this could be you. This very well could be you, but you are moving forward. You might be going back a little bit to see old friends, old scenarios, okay? But you have to know where you've been to know where you're going. Be aware of that. That strength card is really working into each And each and every single week of the month, I see how it's going. So we're going to move into the third week. The third week, the first couple of days of the third week, you have the Hangman. It's reversed. So you're a little bit indecisive, okay? Maybe you're trying to make a decision. Maybe you want to go back to school. Maybe you want to join the military. Maybe you want to start a business. Maybe you want to get married. Maybe you want to buy a house. Maybe you want to move, okay? So it's a choice. It's a choice. And you have to go with what is working for you in your life at this point in time and what it is that you want to achieve. So, you might have to wait right now. Maybe you can't make that decision right now. Maybe you can't, afford to make a move at this point in time, or maybe you can't afford to change a dynamic, to go back to school. But know that you have the strength. You have the strength, whatever it is that you need to do or you want to do, you will bring it into existence. And trust me on this. I have seen the cards, all the cards, okay? So just stay strong until the end of the month, especially the last week of the month, okay? So now the patient, have patience because that wait is almost over. It's coming very quickly, okay? Now, legalities. There's legalities in your life. And those legalities, they could drag on and on and on. Now, think about it. You're in this transition period in your life, okay? And, some type of legalities are going to cause problems for children. Now, whether it be for you, whether it be for your children, whether it be for your grandchildren, whether it be for your friends' children, okay? There are children in your life that are dealing with legalities. And it's going to take a while for that to come back into order, okay? Things need to be adjusted in some way. Now, somebody lost their driver's license and they might be getting it back. Okay, and maybe that's you, Leo. Maybe you lost your driver's license. Maybe you impulsively jumped in the car and sped a little bit, or maybe you had an accident, right? But it does talk about someone getting their driver's license back, and it's giving them that independence. Okay, now it talks about a young person that's gaining some personal freedom, and it's giving them a new sense of purpose in their life. So maybe you have a child, and maybe your child is just getting their license for the first time, okay? And that might be what we're talking about when it talks about getting their driver's license back. I mean, maybe they had to do a test or a driving test, and now it's like, that sense of independence is going to grow as they hold on to that driver's license that they have acquired, okay? So that's a positive thing. That's an absolutely positive thing because it gives them that new sense of purpose in their life. And in some way, Leo, you are being their mentor. Maybe you taught this individual how to drive, and maybe they had to go for a license, and you gave them kind of like a crash course on how to drive or how to parallel park or whatever it may be, okay? So be aware of that. Now, please, don't be stubborn. Don't be stubborn. In that third week, don't be stubborn, okay? Don't say, I'm not doing it, and I'm not trying it, and I'm not going to talk about it, and I don't want anything to do with it. Don't do that, okay? Be open-minded. Be more open-minded. And it also talks about you not listening to reason, and you're kind of being defiant. Yeah. And there is a possibility that, maybe you're going to allow someone to bind you to an uncomfortable situation that you don't want to be in. Well, your choice is your choice. You are the driver of this chariot, okay? You are the one that is going to take your life in the direction that you want it to go. And I mean, it's up to you to make it good, or you could make it negative. So, that choice is definitely up to you. So we're going to move into the last week. In the last week, oh, no, we're still in that third week, sorry. Okay, so in that third week, we are now in the middle 2 days of that third week. You have the Six of Wands and it's reversed. So, as I said, you might be mentoring somebody, teaching somebody how to drive, or teaching somebody to do a skill that you already know. I mean, it could be skiing. I mean, maybe you're teaching someone to ski. Maybe you're teaching someone to, play badminton. I don't know, whatever it may be. It's a general reading, right? So, and this person is feeling this sense of independence, this new sense of purpose in their life. However, they don't have a lot of confidence. And so maybe you're kind of stepping up to the plate to help them build their confidence, okay? But it doesn't seem like they've had the opportunity to demonstrate their skill or their leadership. Or maybe this is you. Maybe this is you, Leo. Maybe it's not a child. Maybe this is that child inside you, your inner child, that doesn't have that confidence. Maybe you haven't had the opportunity to demonstrate your management skill or your leadership skill, okay? Other people see it in you, but you don't. And in order for other people to appreciate your inner power, okay, you have to appreciate it. Other people are going to see it, like I said, and they're going to offer you a role as a leader. Now, you might need to get other people on board with your ideas, okay? Because it sounds to me like you're a little bit uncertain. You're still moving forward, but you're not really sure if you're doing the right thing. You are. You really, truly are, okay? It does talk about you becoming more socially active, but you're shy, Leo, you're shy. And you don't feel comfortable about speaking or performing or being in the front of the public eye, okay? Listen to me, Leo, you're on your way to success. So use everything in your repertoire as experience, as knowledge, okay? If you're filling out an application, make sure you put down volunteer work. Make sure you put down all those little nuances that you did in the past that would qualify as experience for this job. So that doesn't sound too shabby at all. Okay, so we are now in the last 2 days of that third week. And you have the 5 of Wands. So you went from the 6 of Wands, not having confidence, to the 5 of Wands. And the 5 of Wands is straight up. And that talks about getting involved in some type of sporting activity. You're feeling restless. You have all this unused energy, okay? And you need to get it moving. You need variety and excitement. So you might be going to a sporting event, or you might be getting involved in one. You might be becoming a team player, getting involved in, baseball or soccer or hockey, okay? Something like that. A competitive situation, maybe even a competitive situation at work. Maybe your work has a hockey team, and so you're going to join them, okay? That's how you build your camaraderie within your work partners, okay? Now, it also talks about a purchase, and it talks about you awaiting a loan acceptance. Now, there's going to be a little bit of conflict as you're moving out of that third week. There's going to be some personality conflicts, okay, and clashes between friends, peers, and family. Not everybody is on board with what it is you want to do. Maybe you have a car and you want to buy a truck, and everybody's saying, well, why would you buy a truck? That's too big. Or it's not big enough, right? Something like that. Now, it does talk about romance in your life. There might be someone who's interested in you, but Leo, you're concerned. You have a fear of getting involved. But, think about it. You need to bring about a change in your life. You're bored with your life. You're bored with your job, your relationships, your dynamic at work. You're bored with everything, okay? And you're seeking that variety, and you will get it. You just have to put that first foot forward and say hi. Get involved in your life, okay? Live your life. Stop hiding behind that damn door. Now, it does say, though, that, if you get involved in a competition, you're going to stress yourself out, because Leos like to be perfect at everything. They don't like to have anybody say anything negative about them, okay? They protect their emotions as you would protect Fort Knox. Like, you protect your feelings so strongly that you don't even let a small little nuance of someone saying, oh, you didn't do that right. That would affect you immensely. So that might be something that you need to work on in the month of September. So we are in the last week. The last week. First couple of days of that last week. You might be in between paychecks, okay? Because it talks about financial problems. It even talks about maybe a little bit of money loss, okay? There's going to be a few material problems. And you might even have a little bit of difficulty in obtaining the resources, the money, transportation. Maybe your car's broken. You can't afford to fix it, right? Maybe you don't even have money to buy extra food, okay? Or to pay your phone bill. It does talk about possibly a loss of employment. Now, I'm hoping that you have already moved out of that job that you weren't happy in, because it did say that at the start of the month, but we're at the end of the month now. So maybe you were living on your last paycheck from the last job, and maybe you were on unemployment, and maybe your unemployment was running out, okay? So it talks about you not having enough money and being concerned about it, being worried about your financial prowess, being worried that you don't have enough money to pay the bills, to buy food, to put gas in your car, whatever it may be, okay? Now, staying focused is going to be a bit of a problem because of this financial issues. You're overthinking it. You're overthinking it. You're allowing the fear of being broke, of not having that financial power behind you. You're letting that get to you because just trust me on this, okay? Hold strong, stay strong. You have that strength card and you can do it. Now, if you are dealing with financial problems, okay, you might have to just take it one step at a time. Pay one bill at a time. Don't try to pay everything at one time. Pay it as it is due. And that's what the cards are saying. And it also says, if you need help, ask. Ask. Stop being so proud. Ask, but give specifics. Don't say, oh, I need some money and, could you give me $100? Say exactly what you need it for and make sure you stick to what it is that you're paying. Yeah, because it says if you ask for help, you're going to get it. You're definitely going to get it. So we are in the middle 2 days of that last week, and you have the Queen of Pentacles reversed. The Queen of Pentacles is an earth sign. It's a Virgo, a Capricorn, or a Taurus. And it's someone who is exhausted. They have been working their ass off the whole month. Now, this could be something that you're dealing with. It could be the fact that you're broke and you still have to put the effort in, right? But it does talk about someone. And to me, it looks like a female figure. It looks like a female energy, okay? And it's someone who's exhausted, and they're very pessimistic, and they're overly materialistic because they're scared of being homeless. They're scared of not having what it is that they need, okay? Now, this is just frightening because you're dealing with financial issues, and then in comes this Queen of Pentacles, and it says that it's a female. But it says that it's a female that's dealing with hormonal issues, and it could even be a pregnancy. It could be problems with their sexual organs. And, you're dealing with the fear of intimacy or even physical closeness because of the fact that you're not prepared to possibly be a parent. This could be a romantic partner of yours, and they're dealing with a pregnancy. I mean, that can be scary. It really can be if you're not prepared for it. And maybe, you're at a different time in your life, and I mean, maybe you're up in age and you thought, well, this couldn't be possible. And it might be. It very well might be. And so you have a fear of that. So it could be a romantic partner, but it could also be someone that you care about, a family member, a cousin, an aunt, a sister. Well, I don't think a mother would be good, but a female energy in your life, okay? And maybe they're dealing with some type of hormonal issues or pregnancy issues, okay? So be aware of that. Now, you're scared of losing security for some reason, and so are they. And so they might be going through this situation where maybe they find themselves pregnant, and their security, if they're pregnant, they can't work at the job that they're doing. And so that might be an issue that they're dealing with, okay? But it could also be yourself. It could be yourself, Leo, where, maybe your partner is telling you that they're going to be having a child. I mean, if you're the male entity of this relationship. But it could also be that someone you care about is having these issues, and maybe you're cohabiting with that person, or maybe you're helping them out in some way, and so you have a fear of being able to accomplish something, okay? Now, it does talk about stipulations. So maybe someone's saying to you, well, I have a lot that I have to deal with, and if you need help, I'll help you, but you have to, I mean, maybe it's financial. Maybe you're asking them for financial help, and they're saying, well, yeah, I can help you, but I need it back because I'm going to be having a child, or I have to pay money out for my children, okay? So it could be something like that. And I'm talking male, female, or other. Now, it also talks about being focused on conforming to social expectations. If your world is too narrow, okay, you want to fit in, you want to mold in, you want to belong, okay? And that's what the problem is that you're trying to conform to what everybody else wants you to do in your life, Leo, okay? Now, it might even be a parental figure of yours, or maybe this female energy is a parental figure. They're dealing with their children, and they want their children to do exactly what they're supposed to do, to go to school, to graduate, to get a job, to meet a partner, to have children, to buy their home, right? Social expectations. But not everybody is meant to do those things in that order. Everybody has their own destiny, including yourself, Leo. And in some way, you're dealing with this family dynamic in the month of September, okay? Now, if you're dealing with issues pertaining to self-sufficiency, where you feel like you can't accommodate the needs in your life, okay, then maybe you need to focus on your life and see where the financial prowess is leaking, where your money is leaking out, okay, why you feel like you have to be dependent on someone else or on a job that you don't like, okay? Maybe you're living too large. Maybe you're living over the top. Maybe you just bought, you know, a two-story house with a big garage and you've got 2 cars and the whole bit. And now you're looking at it and you're saying, you know what, I really didn't need that. I didn't need that. I would have been happy with a little cabin in the backwoods and my little Toyota truck. You know what I'm saying? So be aware that there's a lot of issues in that last week about self-sufficiency and fear of not being able to accommodate the needs in your life, right? Now, remember, I told you to stay positive. And the Strength card and this final card in the last 2 days of the month, okay? Remember the Strength card. You have the strength. The last card you have is the Nine of Cups straight up. And that, my dear Leo, is the Wish card. So whatever it is that you're putting out in the universe is what you're going to get. If you're wishing to win a lottery, you might just win that lottery, so buy a bloody ticket. If you're wishing to get into a relationship or to get a new job or to get a pay raise or to be able to accommodate financial needs in your life, that will happen, okay? So the Nine of Cups talks about getting your wish. It also talks about establishing connections with people of different races, ages, or even walks of life. It also talks about family celebrations, vacations, weddings, and you know, your family is going to be your support system from now on, okay? Maybe at one point in time you pulled away from them, but you're closer than ever. You're closer than ever now. And it talks about family celebration. Someone's getting married, and it's going to be a big deal. It does talk about finding your group of people, finding the people that you belong with, that you trust, that you can talk, that your fears, your joys, your aspirations, okay? So you feel this sense of empowerment and belonging. And you know what? Whatever questions you have that you're wishing for, that you want to bring into your life, okay? The answer is yes. It's a positive answer. Yes, attainment of wealth. Yes, meaningful dreams. Intuition is going to be right on point. Happiness is going to be assured. There is a new reality coming into your life. It's a new reality and you've worked hard for it. You deserve it, okay? Now, it does talk about 9 months gestation, so you very well might be moving into that parental mode, okay? This might talk about conception, and it might talk about, you know, getting married. So whoever it is getting married, know that you have my congratulations, and you heard it here first. So I shall see you in the month of October, and stay positive, because that Nine of Cups, that's the best card you can get, and you have the strength to move forward into your life and to live your life, to enjoy your life, to pull out from behind that door and look at your life in detail and actually enjoy it. So I shall see you in October. Namaste, my friends. Bye-bye.